do what thou wilt. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of 7 Minutes with the Magus, featuring your host, Omega Logion, Magus of the Eon of Mayant. In this episode, I'm going to trace my magical career and involvement in the Order of AA all the way back from when I was a very young man up until the current day. 42 years ago, in the fall of 1983, I first read the works of Aleister Crowley, Magic in Theory and Practice. I was immediately hooked and wanted to know more. Unfortunately, Weiser had just published the Holy Books of Thelema. I was able to find a copy, and I read for the very first time the Book of the Law. I knew immediately that I was a Thelemite. I spent the next 3 years in solitary study. I was not able to get a hold of the AA, so I followed all of the recommended practices that Crowley had written about for his order. Finally, on the December solstice of 1986, I made a pilgrimage to Boleskine House on the shores of Loch Ness. And there I did a ritual of self-initiation using Crowley's Liber Samekh, also known as the Bornless One ritual. Now, what I was trying to achieve was to formally announce that I was a Thelemite and I was on the magical path, and also to make firm my conviction that I was going to achieve the knowledge and conversation of my holy guardian angel. Several years passed, and I did finally achieve the knowledge and conversation. And shortly thereafter, I discovered the key to Crowley's Liber Trigrammaton. This is a channeled work that he wrote down that includes 27 trigrams composed of the Tao, the Yang, and the Yin. He called it the ultimate foundation of the highest theoretical Kabbalah. And that's exactly what it is. The secret to the book is that the trigrams are numbers in base 3. Using that as a basis, I was able to reformulate the Kabbalah on a firm mathematical foundation. And part of my discovery was the decoding of the Book of the Law, including solving the riddle of verse 276. My studies continued, and on May 5th, 2000, during a multiple planetary conjunction, I took the next big step in the order. I took the Oath of the Abyss. I was determined to become a master of the temple. That initiation required 5 years of work. Now, a big part of that initiation was building the actual temple. With my own 2 hands, I built a large residential geodesic dome, and I built another geodesic dome for my magical temple. And in April of 2005, I achieved the grade of Master of the Temple. I spent the next 15 years performing all the duties of that grade. I tended the Garden of Disciples. I promulgated a school of thought. I taught and I learned and I taught some more. And finally, 2020 arrived. Now, you may recall it as one of the most tumultuous years in recent human history. And there was also a lot of really powerful astrological events going on. In January, there was an exact conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in 22 Capricorn. On the equinox, there was an exact conjunction of Jupiter and Mars, also in 22 Capricorn. On the June solstice was the day of a total solar eclipse. And on the December solstice was the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in 0 degrees Aquarius, which formally began the Eon of Mayant. I was magically involved in each one of those events. On January 3rd, I was shown a new kind of septogram. I could find no record for it in any magical journals or old writings, and it was a new revelation. So on January 12th, a new magical order was formed, the MIX. 7 initiates gathered together to energize and promulgate this new septogram. On January 7th, the first of many holy books had been received, called the Book of the Seven Spirits, which detailed this heptagram and also the worship of the goddess Nuit. Then a month later, I was told by my guardian angel that on the equinox, I had to accept the grade of Magus. Now, I had no intention of doing that. I never aspired to that grade, and I saw no need for it. But it was explained to me that a new eon was about to begin, and a new eon requires a new word, and a new word requires a Magus to utter it. So I relented and accepted the grade during the conjunction of Jupiter and Mars on the March equinox. And on April 9th, the anniversary of the Book of the Law, I uttered the word of the eon. And we're going to talk about that word in a later episode. Then, on the June solstice, I first encountered the god Amun. And on the December solstice, formally began the Eon of Maat. Over the next 2 years, I received numerous more holy books from my guardian angel and from various deities. This culminated in a greater magical retirement in November of 2022 in Nambe, New Mexico, where I received Liber Ma Vel Laudum, the Book of the Lauds. This is based on the structure of the Book of the Law, but its 3 chapters are dictated by Maut, Amun, and Khonsu, the Theban triad. They are the real AA. After that transmission, I've spent the last 3 years receiving more works, doing further studies in Trigrammaton, and continuing the magic of the Eon of Maat. We're going to talk about all those different aspects in upcoming episodes, so I hope you'll join me for them. And until then, peace and be well. And don't forget, love is the